You ever just exhausted? Man, there is so much going on in the world and just in our lives and in our community and what's going on. It is exhausting. And I gotta admit, in the middle of that, I feel a certain amount of pressure to be on and have answers and help you guys and other people in our community. And fighting exhaustion is, frankly, exhausting. The more I try and not be exhausted, the tireder I get. And not just tired. And I know that's true for all of you. I talk to you guys. We get to a certain age, and things like standing up are exhausting. So I get it. I get it. I have the thing in my thumb, a tendon in my thumb that's been hurting for 3 years. And some things that should be easy are exhausting, like using scissors or tearing something. All that stuff. Here's some things that exhaust me. I have to think of dinner every day. Nobody told me that every single day you have to think of, it's not I love cooking, it's fun. I love doing it. I love going grocery shopping and getting all the stuff. It's the deciding what I'm going to eat tonight that is killing me, right? And now I learn why, I've only been doing it for about 5 years. Deb did it for all the rest of our marriage, for 6 of us. And now I can get why when we'd say, what's for dinner? She's like, I don't know, what do you want? Just the exhaustion on her face. The news is exhausting. Having a family that is, just having a family is exhausting. Having a pet is exhausting. Fozzie, this is the weekly pet story. We have a cat that is holding on by spite. And he has now changed his dietary needs. He's changed his pattern that he needs to be fed at 3:05 in the morning, which is fantastic. I really appreciate him reminding me that. And then again at 6. And I'm just getting older, I was talking about, do you ever watch those stunt shows where guys would do things, bungee jump, or back in kind of big in the 70s when I was a little kid, that Evel Knievel, or some guy standing there and they'd drive a car at him fast and he would jump and it would jump over the car, all that kind of stuff. And every now and then they'd come down and they'd get an injury. I get the exact same injury from me, a crazy stunt show that I would be watching, and you're watching and you're like, don't do that, don't do that. If I had a show of someone my age using a chair to stand up and reach something on a shelf, it's that same level of anxiety for me now. Right? Then there's this general, we all have less money and increased prices, difficult medical diagnosis and plans and figuring out how to get the help we need, difficult relationships, death of loved ones. This week, going from seeing Sherry and her saying, I'm getting better, and then finding out she was hiding it, not telling us that she was getting better. She wasn't. Not wanting to worry us. And passing of one of our good friends. It's exhausting. Life is exhausting. And it can show up in so many ways that it can impact our daily lives. It can be stressful. It can cause trauma. We no longer feel up for doing things that we once enjoyed. Instead, we feel like it takes an act of Congress and a venti drip coffee and a full marching band just to get me up out of bed. But you are not alone. We are not alone in that struggle. We have many people who have struggled along with us, people in the Bible who have battled exhaustion. And today I want to talk about exhaustion and renewal. We're not even going to talk about Sabbath. There's a whole discussion, there's a whole other sermon about the concept of Sabbath. We're going to allude to it, but we'll talk about that another time. When we went back for Deb's graduation, when she graduated from seminary just a couple years ago, and I was sitting with her and her professor and a bunch of students one evening. They had a little party for the students in her department. And the professor turned to me, I was, like, you're a minister, a practicing minister? And she goes, how are you at Sabbath? And I said, not great. And she goes, thank you for being honest, because I don't know many without churches forcing their pastors to have Sabbath that do it. And realizing, I need to be better at that, to keep myself from being exhausted, to practice Sabbath. So like I said, that's a whole other sermon. I'm going to preach it when I've got it mastered, because I don't want to be up here confessing the whole time. Right? But we are exhausted. We'll start with just exhausted. Just exhausted. I want to say some things, and there's some principles, and some of this stuff here, I want you, especially when we get to some practical stuff, you don't have to remember them all. Pick one or two. But right now, we are exhausted. Exhaustion is real and inevitable. I want you to understand that. It's just going to happen. You're going to be exhausted, whether it is just physical exhaustion or mental exhaustion or emotional exhaustion or spiritual exhaustion where we feel like we're fighting a battle that doesn't have an end and we're struggling. It is real. It is okay to admit. It is okay and it is normal. And it is not a virtue. How many times this happens, especially if you work kind of in an office situation? How you doing? Oh, I'm beat, man. I'm so busy. I got so much stuff going on. There's an old Seinfeld episode where one of the guys was talking about how he didn't really have anything to do at the office. And they're like, how do you get away with doing nothing all day? He goes, I just walk around looking annoyed. And everyone thinks I'm busy. It's not a virtue to be exhausted, but sometimes in our culture, work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, whoever's the most tired wins. You both come home from work, you and your spouse, right? Or whoever you're with, and you come home and you have a little bit of tired off. Who's the most tired today? But it's normal. It is part of life. In fact, there are many in the Bible that experienced exhaustion. We'll start with this. Elijah, 1 Kings 19. 4 and 5. So here's the story before this. Elijah, we know, fought the priest of Baal and called down, challenged them. He won. The fire came down from heaven. Jezebel, this is that whole story. Wanted to kill him after he defeated her priests, after he defeated the pagan gods and pagan priests and called on heaven. Jezebel was didn't take that well and wanted to kill him. And so I got to put on glasses. This is exhaustion. My eyes are tired. Then he went alone into the wilderness, traveling all day, and he sat down under a solitary broom tree, and he prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life, for I'm no better than my ancestors who've already died. And then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. So many in the biblical record, so many in the Bible, so many characters have a moment of burnout and exhaustion and fear and just tiredness. We are not alone. After a massive spiritual victory on Mount Carmel, he's running, he hides, he's overwhelmed, he's fearful, he's physically spent, and he asks to die because he was being hunted. They were trying to kill him. I think sometimes, I'm going to just take a little tangent, sometimes suicide we don't talk about in the church. People get to that point, and we need to acknowledge it. We need to have our eyes open and our ears open to listen for people who are on the edge, who are exhausted emotionally, physically, spiritually, and make sure we do not shame, make sure we don't say, well, that's stupid, or some of our trite things. Think about all the people you leave behind. No, we just need to love and accept and help them be renewed. Take it seriously. Get professional help. Sometimes people refer them to the pastor, and I am glad to help in any way I can. I'm going to move this stool. But sometimes it's taboo among Christians to even bring it up. I think we're getting better. But there are times that I'm like, I will be glad to listen and counsel and tell you what I think the Bible says, but also I'm going to refer you to somebody, to a professional. Don't be ashamed to do that, right? Get them the help. Let's listen. People feel that way. There are times, how many times in the Bible is somebody begging to be killed just to end it? It happens. Instead, we need to have a safe place. I know that's a weird, people don't like that term. I think it's a beautiful term. The church should be a safe place for everybody. Instead, we need to give a safe place where they can share what they're feeling and what they're afraid of and what they're going through without us going, you seem crazy. Stop thinking that way. It's uncomfortable for me. So Elijah was burnt out and scared, and even to the point of I just cannot take it. I love this translation, the New Living. I've had enough, Lord. You ever felt that way? Hey, I've had enough, Lord. It's too much. Too much in the world, too much in my own personal life. Exhaustion, even Elijah. He just called down fire from heaven. right? So often exhaustion happens after a great victory. We need to be ready. Jesus was exhausted. Mark 6:31, then Jesus said, let's go off, he's talking to his disciples, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. He said this because there were so many people coming and going that Jesus and his apostles didn't even have time to eat. I love this. You hear me talk, usually when I talk about being a Christian, being in the kingdom of heaven, being a follower of Jesus means we follow the teachings and example of Jesus. I love that he gives a very specific example right here to his disciples. You need a break. There are a lot of people who need a lot of stuff. People coming and asking, people looking for wisdom, people looking for miracles, people looking for lunch. And you know what? We need to go off by ourselves. You guys haven't even had time to eat. Let's take care of ourselves. Jesus set an example of his followers by modeling the reality that we get exhausted and that we don't always need to just toughen up and push through. Right? Sometimes we need to retreat. Sometimes we need some time alone. We need to find some ways to escape. And exhaustion was real. It was a real thing. We all have a different capacity. And Jesus admitted, we're worn out. I chose this passage because there's all sorts of passages where Jesus takes time alone, where he leaves the apostles, he leaves the crowd, he goes off to pray. But I love this time he decided, you know what? These guys need to see what I'm doing when I'm doing that. First thing we're going to do is get lunch. You haven't even had time to eat. So we're going to go off and find a space by ourselves, get some food, get some silence, and we don't know, but I'm assuming they pray, because that's what Jesus did. He was physically tired. The story of Jesus at the woman at the well, do you know how that starts? In John 4? That Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from a long walk, sat wearily beside the well around noontime. I'll tell you what, that gives me hope. I go for a walk with Ginny, I am exhausted. I want to sit down. If there was a well, I would sit at that well. And you know how I'd sit? I'd follow the example of Jesus. I would sit wearily. I got to tell you, I know how to sit wearily. It's not really sitting, it's melding into the chair. But I love you, Jesus admitted he was tired. You know what he did when he got tired? He sat down. He sat down. Paul got tired. The Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians 11, 27 and 28. I have worked hard and long. He's giving a list of what his ministry, how glamorous his ministry has been. That he's been in shipwrecks, he's been beaten, he's been attacked, he's been imprisoned. And he says, he finishes it off with this. I have worked hard and long, enduring many sleepless nights. I have been hungry and thirsty. I have often gone without food. I have shivered in the cold without even enough clothing to keep me warm. And then, besides all this, I have the daily burden of my concern for all the churches. Who is weak without my feeling that weakness? Who is led astray, and I do not burn with anger? I love this point that he's saying, I'm exhausted. And you know what happens when I get that way? I'm worried about you. I've got physical problems. I'm cold. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. And I'm hungry. And at that point, I begin to worry too much. I begin to get angry. I have a short temper. Paul was a real person who was experiencing real life and telling us about it. Work and just living with its many stressors make us exhausted. Even an apostle. Paul is familiar with exhaustion. He labored, he toiled, he had gone without. And he still chose to do the work of God, but needed to make sure he recognized when his weakness and his exhaustion was affecting him. We need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge it. We need to admit. Step one in any program is always admit we have a problem. We need to admit we're exhausted. We don't need to be proud of it, but we don't need to be ashamed of it. Life is tiring. Pressure to survive in a dangerous world. Pressure to conform, just keeping up. How many times have we exhausted ourselves just trying to keep up with what we think we're supposed to do? Me, I struggle with pleasing everyone. I want everyone to be happy all the time. And you know what? It's up to me to make sure that happens. Not at all. But I feel that pressure. We feel tired, we get exhausted from working hard and barely making it. Insecurity with health, money, the future, relationships. We get us exhausted. So just a few little practical things. Things that increase our exhaustion. Constant noise and digital overload. Right? I'm trying to do better at giving myself just a little bit of silence. Not looking at the phone, not have the TV on. Sometimes there's a radical in the car, not having the radio on. Just a moment of silence. Things that increase exhaustion, my internal pressure to perform. I think we all have that. We have things that we are like, I need to do better at this, and we have this internal pressure. Guilt for me, this is a struggle. Guilt around slowing down. Guilt around stopping. Thinking that taking a rest is lazy. That if I'm stopping, somebody else is having to pull my weight. And that quickly goes into lack of boundaries. Refusing to ever kind of go, no, this is as much as I can do. And that doesn't even acknowledge, we need to recognize and see the seriousness of trauma, chronic stress, disease, pain. So some things let's not deny. Let's not pretend like it's not happening. It's tempting to act like we have it all under control. We don't want people to think of us as weak. Let's not do that. Let's not run. Let's not ignore and hide. Let's not just bypass problems. Something is difficult and uncomfortable, and we run from it. Don't sanitize our exhaustion. Turn to covering it up or unhealthy numbing, entertainment, drugs, food, etc. Don't quit. Don't just decide, well, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to quit everything. The danger of exhaustion is quitting and retreating. The danger of exhaustion is quitting and retreating. The reality is what we need is renewal. Rather than retreat, we need to be renewed so that we can re-enter the fray. So that we continue to live the life, we need to seek real help and refreshment that leads to renewal. And that's point 2, renewal. Renewal. Don't give up. Don't give up. We need rest. We need Sabbath. We'll talk about that another day. Isn't that a great word, though? Oh, the concept of Sabbath. Taking a day off to refocus. I'm not going to preach that sermon today. I'm coming back to it. How do we become renewed? Matthew 11, 28 to 30. I get choked up every time I read this, so I'm not going to this time. Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Jesus was always talking in contrast to the religious and social systems around him. Religious and social and cultural systems always have heavy burdens for us. Heavy responsibility with low rest. Heavy accountability with low power. Jesus says, my burden is light. Knowing Jesus should not make us more exhausted. Knowing Jesus and following Jesus makes us renewed. When we are exhausted, the first thing we do is turn to Jesus. And if our religion, if turning to Jesus conjures up ideas of, I need to work harder, I need to follow the law, I need to change my heart, I need to be better, I need to work harder, or else, Jesus says, no. I already love you. I already care for you. You are already my sheep. You don't have to work harder. This is not more burden, it is less. What Jesus really wants is not pressure following the law, which was designed to show us we can't follow the law, or even perfection in our hearts, but to just call on him and trust him. Have faith. Follow his teaching and his example. Love God and love people. Following Jesus for real, really following Jesus brings rest and renewal, not exhaustion. Quit trying to earn it. We talk about being saved by grace, and so often we think, not just from what we're taught or shown in church or wherever our upbringing or whatever, the reality is, and I think we don't even have to be taught this, it's just normal human nature, that we're saved by grace, but we live by works. Good, Jesus did the work to snatch me out of hell, but for me to be a good person, I got to work like a dog every day. That's not what Jesus said. His yoke is light. So quit trying to earn it. Be saved by his grace and live by his grace. Learn from him. I love that Jesus says, hey, let me teach you. Listen to this. This is the teaching. And we're like, oh yeah, we want to know what Jesus wants to teach us. How do we do this? Here's the teaching. He goes, by the way, I'm the best teacher because I am gentle. I am tender. I am not authoritarian. I am not violent. I am not angry. I am gentle and humble. So let me teach you. If following Jesus adds stress and tires us, that's not really following Jesus. That's religion. Religion adds burden. Jesus has a light yoke. Isaiah 40, 28 through 31, another one of my favorite passages. I'm being renewed right now just reading this stuff. Have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak, strength to the powerless. Even youths. Oh no, youths. Even youths become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion, but those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings of eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I like the juxtaposition with youth. If you ever worked with a young guy or a young woman, they are great in the first half hour. Right? And again, that is fantastic. God bless them. We need them. Setting up for the morning, I'm so grateful for the guys who set this up. They go slow and they get it done. Right? Just physical labor. But this is the idea that even those who are strong, even those who are vibrant, even those who are youthful, eventually they tire too. We all tire, except God. And it says this, here's the idea. When we fall in exhaustion, we need to trust the Lord, and he will give us new strength. We had strength at the beginning, and now here's an extra dose of strength. And we'll soar with wings like eagles. We'll run and not grow weary would be great. I love the second part of this. We'll walk and not faint. I'm not sure I can run. I'm not as big into running and not growing weary anymore. I just want to walk and not faint. I don't know if you know, I like Lord of the Rings and J.R. Tolkien stuff. I love the image that this brings to me. I think when I first read this as a kid, I thought that we would soar, we would be like eagles, we would have wings. The idea is that we will have this strength, we will be empowered and almost like a superhero, that we say Shazam or we put on a ring and suddenly we could sprout wings and fly. But it's more like the Hobbit. The Hobbit's this little guy, weak, and he's with some dwarves, and they're being chased by goblins and wolves, and they run up a tree. They run up trees, and the goblins and wolves start fire at the base of the trees, and the fire is licking up the trees, and there's nowhere to go, and they're trying to fight out, and they realize they're going to die, and the flames are licking at their feet, and they're just about ready to throw themselves down into the goblins and wolves and die in their last going down fighting. You're ready to go, ready to go. They're ready to leap. And then one of them says, the eagles are coming. And giant eagles swoop down and pick them up and snatch them and take them away. That's this verse. We are weak. We are exhausted. Young men have fainted. Old people have fainted from walking. And God doesn't say, here's your can of spinach, Popeye. Now you're going to be powerful. I will swoop down and you will soar on the wings of the eagle, me. I will carry you. Your strength is finite, his is not. That we get to serve the Lord and be rescued. We'll finish the story of Elijah. 1 Kings 19, 5b through 7. Remember, we left Elijah under the broom tree, sleeping. He's ready to kill himself. Lord, kill me. But as he was sleeping, okay, let's get into this moment. Put yourself here. He's under a tree, running from Jezebel. People are out to kill him. He's at his wit's end, exhausted emotionally, spiritually, physically. As he was sleeping, an angel touches him and said to him, "Hey, Elijah, get up. Get up and eat." And he looked, and there beside his head was some bread baked on the hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank, and he lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came down again and touched him and said, "Get up and eat some more, or the journey ahead will be too much for you." Man, I relate. He's exhausted. And here's the miracle that God provides for him. Have a snack and take a nap. Oh, and hydrate. The Lord speaks gently to him. Here's some bread. Here's some water. Take a nap. Here's some bread. Here's some water. Take another little nap, because here's the thing. Your fight isn't done. You don't get to avoid this fight. You don't get to avoid all the difficulty in the world. You don't get to avoid difficulty with relationships. You don't get to avoid financial pressure. You don't get to avoid the difficulty of growing old. You don't get to avoid all this. No, but you get to rest and be renewed, because you got work to do. There's a journey ahead that if you don't have the help from God, you're not going to be able to complete it. But you got to go complete it. Our renewal is not about escaping. Too often Christians, when something uncomfortable happens, when there's stuff going on that we don't want to face, we avoid it. You know what? I'm stepping out of this. I'm exhausted. I don't want to deal with this anymore. We put our heads in the sand. We're afraid of being on the wrong side, or we're afraid of being called out. But we need to get back in the fray. So yes, when we are exhausted, take some time, have a snack, drink some water, get some rest, but get back in the fight. Even if it's 3 naps. I love this. Elijah had 3 naps. On my days off, our joke around the home, and it's not really a joke, it's true. Deb will say, "What are you going to do today?" And I said, "I'm going to have a series of naps. I may take a 10 o'clocker and a 2 o'clocker, and sometimes even a night nap, so that I can be ready for Tuesday." Right? God did not rebuke him, but provided food and water and rest and allowed him to recover. The angel didn't wake him up and say, "What are you doing?" Because there's still work to do. Do not bypass difficult things. Stay in the fight. Have some boundaries, great. Hydrate, eat, rest. But stay engaged in the work of the kingdom. Rest, renew, and re-enter the fight. So take a holiday, take a break, but nobody expects you to be at everything all the time. But we cannot afford to retreat. We cannot afford to escape. There are fights going on that we need to be a part of right now. And if it's overwhelming to you now, I get it. Take a break. Have a snack. Drink some water. Take a nap. And get back in the fight. With the strength of God. Okay, I got some practical stuff for you. Pick 1 or 2 of these. Some of this is from Scripture, but most of this is just some practical stuff on how to deal with exhaustion and get ready to get back in the fight. We understand we need to pray, right? We need to pray and understand with God. We need to connect with God. We need to connect with each other. We're not in this alone, right? But we also have some practical things to do. Just as God gave Elijah rest, he will also give us rest. We might find it relaxing spending just a day at home, a series of naps, a hot bath, going out and spending some time in nature. Someone wrote this. I like this one. There's a bunch of different articles that I looked at for ways to renew. Listen to the calm breeze and allow it to rejuvenate your heart. One of my great sounds, it brings back memories. All those years I worked at camps, All those years I spent running camps, there's a sound when the kids are gone, before the next wave of kids came, when the wind would go through the trees. It meant two things. One, that the kids were gone, so there was no work to do. It was silent for a minute, and that noise means peace to me. The Lord doesn't want you exhausted and to feel as though every day is a struggle. He is your support. Do not be afraid to lean on him. Go to him in prayer and ask for strength of eagles to lift you up. Not to make you powerful, but that you can rely on his power. Some practical stuff. Create a tech-free time or zone. Maybe there's a room or a chair in your house where there's no phone or TV or radio. Maybe a book. Practice breathing. And even that, practice breathing in prayer. Not something weird, but some deep breaths, calming breaths. Calm your body, and in that moment, pray. Take short, intentional pauses. I love that. Sometimes in work, I'll find myself, especially working on a sermon, I'll kind of get going, and then I'll go back and read it later and go, what was I talking about? Sometimes I need to stop, take a break. Seek beauty. Go look at some art. Listen to some music. Go out into nature. Here's some radical ones that might be harder. Sleep. Eat nourishing food. I don't like that one. I like eat. Maybe we do need kale and carrots for snack time. Listen to your body and your physical limits. Right? It is okay to say, I can't do that. And allowing yourself to be a human, not a machine. Emotionally, spiritually, physically. Rest for the mind. Name your emotions without judgment. Acknowledge, I'm getting cranky and angry. I'm getting impatient. I'm sad. I will admit, there's a show on TV, Sunday nights, All Creatures Great and Small. If any of you watch that on PBS. It is my Sunday night show. It's my catharsis show. Very low stakes, right? There's the conflict is usually, is the horse going to die? The horse never dies. And I like it. I will cry every Sunday night because I'm kind of worked up for this. All week long I've been planning. I kind of get up and do this thing. And Sunday night I need a little catharsis. Replace noise with quiet. I love this. This is so basic. Practice gratitude. Speak thankfulness. And then, go these quick. Scripture. Meditate on Scripture. Don't just read it, meditate. Worship. Sing at the top of your lungs. Worship. Confess and release. Don't confess and fix. Confess and release. And receive God's love without working for it. Just let him love you. I'm going to leave us with this. We're going to skip the video. Psalm 34, 17 and 18. The Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. May we be people who admit that the world can be an exhausting place and seek the rest and renewal offered by trusting in a caring God. To the glory of God and the flourishing of our neighbors. Thank you. Blessings. And we'll see you next week.